comment. Is there any closed session public comment? Hearing none, at this time we'll recess to closed session. All right, we'd like to reconvene the meeting of the Airport Authority. Is there any announcements out of closed session?
Yes, in closed session, no action was taken, but direction was given as to items, sub-item A, C, D, and E. No discussion was involved as to sub-item B, and there was discussion as to item F, with the exception of a recusal on behalf of Supervisor Ramos. So Supervisor Ramos was not in attendance for item F.
Thank you. At this time, we ask Mayor De La Rosa to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand for our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there any items to be added or deleted?
No items, sir.
Thank you. Conflicts of interest. Any conflicts for members? Just those noted for myself in the closed session item that was read out. Moving on to informational items, item G.
Okay, I have a few in here. The first one I will start with, Mr. Gibbs will present. As you know, in the airport world, we track operational activity on a calendar year basis, and Mark gets to tell you how we did. Mark?
Thank you, Mike. This report, I think I should lead by saying that the report is consistent with the way that the FAA, as well as the rest of the industry, compiles their full year calendar on a calendar year basis, and that's what we did with these operational numbers to maintain consistency with the industry. So the two operational businesses that are highlighted here with the full calendar year operational data are both the airport and the FBO. These are the different business segments for the airport, and on the left there you can see the performance metrics that we're following. So first is aircraft operations for the entire airport. That's taken all the airplanes that landed and took off. The second one is the number of international flights, and then there's cargo activity, and then activity through the FBO. This next map is, again, this is an overview. Shows you where the different business segments are, and they've got a color code that goes along with them. Dark blue for general aviation, the teal color for cargo, red for passenger service, and there's an orange for the FBO. So first is the total number of airplanes that have taken off and landed at the airport. Now there's further statistics that break this down by the type of activity, but this is the overall number, and it's broken down by year. So you can see in 2017, this was our strongest year to date, and we've been on a growth trend for the last 5 consecutive years. And it's kind of interesting. So 2017, the number of airplanes that take off and land grew 21% over last year. Last year grew 19% over the previous year. 2015 grew even more than that over 2014. But we're on a pretty strong uptrend, and we continue with year-over-year growth. We saw the most growth in percentage terms in commercial operations. Now, this is a definition that the Federal Aviation Administration requires of air traffic control towers. So they've got a definition for what a commercial operation is. And we saw approximately 81% growth this year over last year's record. The next one is the number of flights clearing customs at the airport. Again, we've seen continual growth year over year in this segment as well. Last year had about 50% growth over the previous year. So we had just over 160 flights clearing international at the airport here. Cargo was another segment of growth. This one, the statistics are compiled a little bit differently. The common industry metric is the landed weight, and this is a statistic that gets reported to the FAA each year. This year was our strongest year. We had over 20 million pounds of landed cargo weight at the airport this year. I had a total of 148 flight operations, so that's a takeoff and a landing. And it included everything from UPS to Antonovs to MD-80s and 737s. So the next business unit is the FBO, and we track this in terms of ramp activity and flight operations. So this is primarily Luxair SPD, the airport owned and operated FBO. And this is a breakdown since we began operating the FBO, year-over-year growth. This is the number of planes that come through the FBO. The first year of operation, we had 1,400 planes on the ramp. This past year, we had over 4,700. In terms of percentage growth, this last year was our strongest with a 62% increase over 2016's record year. And so what type of aircraft are coming through the FBO? This breaks it down from the previous year. So anything over 12,500 pounds, again, this is kind of an industry metric, is considered a large aircraft, so think of it as a business jet type aircraft. We had a very strong year. This had our strongest growth in the large aircraft with a 77% increase this year over last year's record. We also had a strong year in general aviation aircraft at the FBO. It increased 57%. And I guess to summarize operational activity at the airport, we saw strong growth across all industry segments, both for the airport and the FBO. Thank you.
And I have, oh, sorry, go ahead. So the next presentation, our airport manager, Liliana, will present just a foreshadowing of some of what will come at the end of the month on the 28th. Lily?
Thank you. Good afternoon. The airport is preparing for its 2018 full-scale emergency exercise. And this year we have partnered up with the County of San Bernardino Fire Department and the San Manuel Fire Department in their 2018 East Valley Multi-Agency Mass Casualty Incident Drill. The exercise requires key emergency responding agencies to participate. And in this scenario, there will be an aircraft emergency where 60 to 70 simulated casualties will take place. Key participants of this exercise involves 7 fire departments, with the County of San Bernardino being the lead agency and the incident commander, the San Manuel Fire Department, Cal Fire Highland, Colton Fire Department, Loma Linda Fire Department, Redlands Fire Department, Rialto Fire Department, and we also have hospitals who will be participating in receiving simulated victims. These include Loma Linda University Medical Center, Arrowhead Regional, St. Bernardine Medical Center, Desert Regional Medical Center, and Redlands Community Hospital, and the San Antonio Regional. We also plan to have air evacuations provided by the San Bernardino Sheriff and Mercy Air, and ambulances provided by all the 7 fire departments previously mentioned, and AMR. And then the San Bernardino Police Department, our air traffic control tower, and all airport employees will be participating in this scenario. Approximately 90 volunteer students from Crafton Hill College and Victor Valley College will simulate victims, and the media and tenants will be invited to attend. Now, this exercise is required by the FAA as we carry a Class 1 commercial certificate. Airport staff worked with the FAA in early 2017 to upgrade our certificate. And with the Class 1 commercial certificate, we are able to serve large scheduled passenger air carriers. Now, this exercise is intended to be a simulated real-time emergency exercise or event on the airport and is required every 3 years. The key focus of the scenario is to test and review the existing airport emergency plan and utilize the National Incident Management System in order to provide a consistent and scalable emergency structure to manage the emergency. Our own tenant, Unical, will be letting us use an Airbus A320 for the emergency. And the event is scheduled to take place on February 28th at 10 a.m. and expected to last until 12 noon. We cordially invite you, our SBIAA Commission, to attend the full-scale emergency exercise on February 28th. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from members?
I just wanted to ask.
Mayor De La Rosa?
Most of this exercise is going to be taking place on the airport.
Oh, all of it will be on the airport.
Okay, is there any need in the past for San Bernardino Police or Highland Sheriffs or surrounding police agencies to be involved on the outside
So
perimeter?
it really depends on the scenario in the exercise. So what Liliana and her team do is coordinate with all response teams, but it is tailored to what is actually the drill. And we can't tell you what the drill is. We can't tell participants what the drill is because it has to be a real live simulation.
So when they respond, they're already on. They're not responding from outside.
No.
When does that type of training?
Well, no. When the actual incident it plays itself out, because we haven't done one of these in some years, but I've been involved in the prior ones, and they actually get the call-outs just as if something just happened. So it literally is simulating exactly what would occur if ABC occurred out there on the airport. So they will all be notified, but there's a little bit of pre-planning on the part of the team to make sure that folks can actually, truly live train at the scenario site, if that makes sense.
On the airport.
It's on the airport. But yeah, of course, these people, Loma Linda is coming from Loma Linda. These people are coming from where they would normally be at the time an incident occurred.
And they know what gates to come through and things like that. Okay.
And that's part of the practice of it, to make sure people truly can get here, and then there's a big debrief and troubleshooting and all of the things that go on. So I don't want to foreshadow too much. You'll get mad at me. So.
Well, I just want to make sure that our surrounding police agencies also know which gates to report to on a mass casualty like what you're presenting. What gates our police agencies, sheriffs, and PD, they know also where to report to also.
Right, and that's part of the reason we do this, because it's laid out in our emergency plan what access points are, and so it serves as a refresher as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
Through the
Thank you.
chair. Having said that, I was reading the packet, and I guess it's done every 3 years. I have a question regarding the public. I know you must get phone calls from the general public not knowing what is going on.
And that, too, is part of the exercise.
Great.
So designated individuals have certain roles that they have to play out and serve in the emergency plan itself, and that's also a test of how that process works.
Yeah, that's important because we do have a few people that live adjacent to the airport, and I'm sure that they would be
Absolutely.
concerned seeing all these public safety.
And that's why it's done. Our last one was in the late 90s when the procedures were a little bit different. So every periodically the airport does do these exercises, but since the airspace has been upgraded, the requirement to do the live exercise has not been in place because of the regulatory changes that have occurred. So a tabletop occurs on a regular basis with all these agencies, but doing it in real life is a really important thing.
I'm going to
So
try to
that's
make
why
it that
we'd
morning.
love it if you can find the time to get out to actually view it. It is something to see.
And
Thank
if
you.
I could add to that, we are going to put electronic signs at 3rd Street and other streets leading into the airport to let the general public know what's going on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Marquez. Any other questions, comments from members? Thank you. Next, status of annual audit.
So this is very brief, but I'll just say that our new audit firm is substantially complete, Alka, is that how you would describe it? We had a good meeting with them yesterday and are on track to have the final audit done by the end of the month, which means it'll be prepared for presentation by the audit firm to this body. Should be the next meeting. So, that concludes my report.
That was the report?
Yes.
All right.
I just have a
Questions?
question. So we recently we didn't have that firm come and do our final audit report, and we've already done another audit.
So you've recently had the last firm present, or at least Bill have to present the prior audit. It was the auditor's work, but the auditor wasn't here to present it.
And then we appointed our new auditor, and we already have that audit done.
Yeah, so again, they've been at work for some months now. The new auditor has been on board for some time. Remember, the prior auditor was having to catch up for a couple of years, and so that's what you saw at the last point. But this
And
new
we
company's
waited for a
done it.
long time to see if they were going to come and give us a report, and they didn't. Is that why Bill did the report?
No, because they were not able to attend to present their report.
Right, but I'm saying, had they have, we would have had the report done a long time ago. It just
No,
seems
no,
like
we
a close...
RFP'd our auditors, and
Okay.
that's something by our procedures and policies that we're required to do. And through that process, we selected a different firm. That new firm is now conducting the work.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Lilburn. Any other questions, comments from members? Thank you. That concludes item 2. Moving on to commission consent items, item 3, 4, and 5. Thank you. Is there a motion by Councilman? Second by,
Through the chair, I will have to abstain from number 5 since I was not in attendance.
I'll second.
all right, there's been a abstention on the whole consent item?
Just on number 5.
On
3
just
and
on
4 I
5?
can.
Okay. There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Abstentions noted. That concludes item H. Moving on to item I, action items, item 6.
So we are requesting one budget adjustment here to try to get ahead of the game in planning the 2018 air show. So in the report, you'll see that the sponsors and partners have collectively looked at the first weekend in November of 2018. Fortunately, it looks like the performing acts are, for the most part, able to participate at that point. And we did have a contingent of ours, including Ms. Pritchett, who went to the International Council of Air Shows, and that was warmly received. So these funds are a new account which would be put in place to begin to do early bookings on performers and various operators and contractors we need for that event. It represents about 40% of what last year's total event budget was. But, you know, as we've done this for going into our 4th year, the earlier we can get these folks, the more ability we have to stretch those dollars and hopefully, you know, provide more value to the event overall. So, Kat, do you have anything you want to add to that? Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, comments from members? There's been a motion by Councilman Freshred to approve this, second by Mayor De La Rosa. I just had a comment on last year's event. Did the sponsorship cover the actual total cost? Or
In short, no. So I will say of the sponsorship revenue, we did approach $200,000, which was a market increase over the prior year with the 2-day event. Actually created more opportunity for more sponsors, new sponsors that we haven't had before, and we're seeing that trend continue. So the actual direct expenses that we've had budget to actual to date from last year were about $290,000. So we still are, you know, subsidizing a portion of the event as we go forward, plus the staff time that it takes to put it on. But with more recognition, more notoriety, awards like the ICAS Pinnacle Award for Innovation, the name's getting out there. So we think we're on track to do better even this year.
so we're closing the gap?
We are closing the gap year over year.
All right, thank you. Mayor Lilburn?
I do. I have a question. At one point, will you be bringing to us a proposed budget for the entire operation for the Airfest itself?
Yeah, we will. So
Instead of
this
piecing-
is, well, what you have to do in this fiscal
Yeah.
year is be able to book acts for the performance that occurs next fiscal year. And that's been the case with the air show since we started it.
Okay.
So the complete budget comes in a couple of months as you look forward to the full breadth of the event.
Okay, and then will we see a final budget of what?
Yeah,
just happened?
that'll be in June, hopefully, with the rest of the budget, too.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. That concludes item 6. Moving on to item 7.
Jim.
Mr. Harris?
Thank you. Thank you. This item is to award a professional service agreement with Burns and McDonald to do preliminary planning documents for a new set of general aviation hangars in the general aviation area that was recently completed. We have recently finished building and occupying 2 sets of hangars. One is executive hangars where there are 12 ranging from about 3,300 square feet to 7,200 square feet for each one, and a row of T hangars of number of 20 that average approximately 1,700 to 1,800 square feet apiece. The small hangars are for individual aircraft. The larger hangars are for either larger aircraft or multiple aircraft being stored in the same hangar. At this time, the leased area is at 100%, if not almost there. And we are now in the preliminary planning phase for a new set of hangars. This firm is tasked with providing 3 options. One would be an additional row of hangars similar to the small ones, another row of hangars similar to the larger bank of hangars, and the third one is what they see as the best use of the area, which could be a mix of small, a mix of large, all large, maybe larger hangars. So they are tasked with looking at the surrounding area, other airports, to determine what type of aircraft are most likely to be wanting to come to the area for storage of their aircraft in our hangars. This would be a 10% design point when they're finished. The advantage is we'll know exactly the method, type of hangars that we want to build, the cost, the schedule, how long it would take. And at that point, we can either negotiate the detailed design construction drawings with this firm. If we cannot come to an agreement, then we will go out to getting quotes from other firms. So that is what this project does, and thank you very much.
All right. Any questions, comments from commission members?
Just real quick,
Mayor De La Rosa?
Mr. Hurst, the planning, the approved budget amount of 300,000, is that just for planning and design only?
Yes,
That's just for planning and design?
at this point, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Luber?
We only had one firm respond to the RFP.
I solicited to 3 firms, and only one provided a RFQ.
Is that unusual?
It's not unusual. Their workloads may be, they can't support it. Maybe they don't feel that this is their niche. But I used 3 firms along with the manager, or the director of the airport, to solicit proposals, and they were the only ones who.
So this is not like designing a road or, an office building. There are specialists in the industry, and the market is pretty hot right now. So that was, I think, the sense that Mark and I had, in addition with Jim, looking at this, is that people have been busy. Fortunately, this firm has capacity and a good reputation for doing quality work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Thank you. This is to approve this award. Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Motion by Ovi, second by
I'll second.
Mayor Lilburn. Any public comment? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Concludes item 7. Moving on to item 8. Nicole?
Thank you and good afternoon, Commission members. The item before you today is to authorize the purchase of furniture for the new maintenance building from Office Business Interiors in an amount of not to exceed $37,630.44 with a 10% contingency of $3,763.04. Some of the new furniture items include desks, lateral file drawers, bookcases, break room tables, and conference room training tables. Staff obtained competitive quotes from 3 furniture vendors, and Office Solution Business Interiors was determined to be the lowest responsible bidder. Staff requests the Commission to approve the furniture purchase of $37,630.44 with a 10% contingency of $3,763.04. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments on that?
I just have a quick question.
Ovi?
When do you anticipate they'll deliver the furniture and be ready to be used?
We actually gave them a deadline of 3 to 4 weeks because we knew the building would be ready by
Really? So
February.
we'll be ready with, that's awesome. So maintenance will have a new home in about a month.
Yes, sir.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments, questions on this item?
I'm
Hello?
sorry, I just have one
Oh, go
question.
ahead.
So when the quotes come in like this, I guess we can't contact them. It would be nice to keep our money local with the local businesses, but we can't contact them and tell them that this is our bid and they can't match it or anything. But it's just apples to apples.
I'm not sure. That would be more of a legal question. Once you put out a bid, line bid or
I
RFP,
got you.
RFQ, then that's set. If you start to play with that, then you might cross a line and having to go back out to bid. So, legal?
Yeah, that's, when you're looking at something that is, how do I put it, that is standard, and I'll use a building.
Yeah,
example.
I kind of know that. It's just
Yeah.
a shame that we
It is.
can't.
There are in some instances, depending on, on different policies that can be adopted, you can give a local preference to, of a certain percentage, although generally speaking, those preferences for local vendors has somewhat fallen out of favor with the courts. But I have seen some up to about 5%. So if you have someone local, you can give them a 5% advantage, so to speak, to keep the dollars local. You can also do that if an out-of-locale contractor commits to hire a minimum of 50% plus of local labor. We don't have that policy for something like this, and quite frankly, for office furniture, it's difficult to put something like that in place.
Right. I got you, because, we give a price and then we give a 10% contingency. So sometimes that contingency might equal to what the lower bid was if they
Yeah.
bid. I don't know. Sometimes they come in low and then they do add-ons. And
Yeah.
I've just worked with Go Forth and Marty before, and they do really good work.
As have we.
Clarification on the contingency, that's more for different change in prices, or the contingency that's 10%?
So,
You shouldn't go above it, right? That's what. the
No,
budget-
that's the cap of it, and again, that's 10% from the base quote. So whatever the base quote is, you add 10% to that, so that's still more than the second or third person when you do it that way. And that is for, a contingency for additional features that we may need to add given the configuration within the building. It's been pre-designed. What am I missing, Nicole? Is there shipping, delivery, that kind of thing? Okay. So that's why it was done. So we didn't have to come back and do another furniture request from you, because it does exceed the $25,000 purchasing authority that I have, which is why it's before you today.
Thank you.
All right, did I have a motion on item 8?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Motion made by San Bernardino Councilwoman Virginia Marquez, second by San Bernardino Councilman Fred Charette. All right, any public comment on that item? Hearing none. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Concludes item 8. Moving on to item 9.
So this brings us to the look forward to the balance of this fiscal year. So you've just seen one of our most recent budget adjustments, so there may be a few others throughout the year. We do have a few programs that are picking up steam, which I hope will be a positive adjustment. We are on track, as I said, for completion of the annual audit by next month, and we will have a report on some international trade initiatives we've been working on that were projected for this year. And moving on to March, the annual audit work will be behind us at that point, and we will be presenting some operational updates. And this goes to some of the goods and services we use here at the airport. The last year we've had this on as sort of a look back, and that's in preparation for what becomes our very busy summer season, particularly at the FBO. So we'll be back for some updates there. That concludes my report.
All right, any questions, comments? Thank you. Good work. Concludes item 9. No added or deferred items. Open session, public comment. No public comment? All right, that concludes public comment. Commissioner member comments. Any commissioner wishing to comment on anything? No. All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Till next time.